I can't believe it took me this long to talk about this devil fruit. Okay, look, I understand this is a really, really tough topic for a lot of people. It's a heartbreaker. It really is. The story of Senor Pink, it stays with you, man. So you know what? I understand if you can't handle this and you just want to go. Or if you want to stick around but you want to wear a pair of sunglasses. It gets rather bright out. And it's okay to wear sunglasses indoors sometimes. Because you just never know. It's okay, I get it. I get it. But I think it would only be appropriate to start off this video with a toast. A drink. To friends and family. So go grab your, I don't know where YouTube stands on this, preferably non-alcoholic beverage, but whatever you got on standby. I have a geography shot glass. So go grab yourself a drink for Senor Pink. Oh! That's a good generic beverage. I don't know what that was. It's just a liquid. It was a liquid. Yeah, that sure was. Okay. So, today we're actually not specifically talking about Senor Pink, but he is going to be mentioned because we're talking about his devil fruit, the Sui Sui no Mi, or the Swim Swim fruit. I gotta be honest with you. When that fruit was first revealed way back in Dressrosa, I think a lot of people were just like, wait, what? It's a devil fruit that allows you to swim. The whole point of devil fruits is that you can't swim anymore. Like, where's this going, you know? Okay, I remember feeling very weird when I read that chapter. Like, yeah, this is a guy named Senor Pink. He has a bib and a pacifier, and he wears a diaper and like a, I don't know, 7 sizes too small shirt, and his giant gut hanging out. And it's like, okay, I'm cool with that. That all makes sense to me. I mean, it's One Piece. Like, I will say this. When Senor Pink did show up, I was like, all right, I know your game at this point, Oda. There's going to be something involving this guy later. Like, you're not going to give this dude an outfit like that and just not address it at all. Although, if he would have done that, can you imagine? Like, as like, there's going to be a backstory with this guy, and it's going to loop back around, and it's going to be a really tragic one. And it was. And it was. But the weirdest thing out of all of it was the devil fruit. I'm like, okay, this is a little strange. But it does make a lot of sense. Like, it doesn't violate any of the standard devil fruit rules or weaknesses or anything like that. Senor Pink is just as weak to water and, you know, drowning as any other character in One Piece. But the Swim Swim fruit does have a very unique property in that, yes, it does, technically speaking, allow you to swim. And it's an ability that would have been taken away from you in a devil fruit capacity, because every time you enter water, if you get a certain amount of water like over your body, like if it's just covering your ankles, not a big deal. Starts getting up to your knees, maybe you'll start feeling a little woozy. Starts getting up to like your waist and your stomach, you're gonna be like really out there. And by the time it gets up to your neck, you're gonna be basically unconscious and you're gonna drown. You know, unless you're Jack or like a fishman or a mermaid or something like that, and you can survive underwater by breathing, but you won't be able to move much, okay? So that is the standard weakness of a devil fruit, but with the Swim Swim fruit, you could swim anywhere. Disclaimer, anywhere does not include underwater. But other than that, or in swimming pools, or any place that involves liquid. But anywhere that's not liquid, you can swim. You want to swim down the sidewalk? Go ahead. You want to swim up a building? Go ahead. You want to swim on top of a building? Go ahead. You want to swim in a cave? Go ahead. You can swim anywhere you want. You're a free swimming human. And you can do the front stroke or the back stroke. You can even do the breaststroke. You know, you can do any types of of strokes that you want. All right, there you go. Right, okay. So, honestly, like, in terms of devil fruits that I would want to eat, you know, in terms of getting the power, the swim fruit's not bad. You can use the ability. It's actually very effective. And even if you're not fighting, even if you just want to get around and travel, it would probably be easier to swim there. It's like, you know, you're stuck in morning traffic or something, like, screw you, losers, I can swim. And you just jump out onto the highway and just start swimming through all the different traffic and cars and everything like that. You know, a police officer sees you swimming through traffic and he doesn't even know how to respond to that. It's just like, there are no codes to call in what this is, so I'm just going to allow him to keep going, I suppose, right? Okay, not only is it useful, but you know, I'm not a professional swimmer or anything like that, but I like to swim. You know, I like to go to the pool or the beach every now and then. I like to go out in the water and swim around and stuff like that. It is fun. So if you eat a devil fruit, though, you can't do that anymore, except if it's this one. This is the one that kind of allows you to still swim because, and this is something that wasn't really, because honestly, Senor Pink did not utilize that many named attacks with this power. I think the only named attack he actually had was the finishing move, like the Baby Buster, you know, where he swims and he grabs Frankie and he brings him up on top of a building and then he has like this reverse suplex in the air and then pile drives Frankie into the ground. And then Frankie got back up, and you know Senor Pink is Senor Pink, man. He is a hard-boiled man, if there ever was one. So he's like, hey, you agreed, you know, you'll take my final attack full throttle, face on. You're not going to, you know, block it or dodge it or anything like that. You're going to take it head on. All right. So if you do that, then I'm going to do the same thing in turn. You know, I'll give you a kindness and I'm just going to sit right there and I'm going to let you hit me. And so Senor Pink tries his damnedest to finish off Frankie, but it is Frankie after all. He busted up Frankie's head pretty bad with the Baby Buster technique, right? Gaining momentum and then going up a building. So it's not even like a linear plane, okay? Let me ask you a serious question. You're swimming in a swimming pool, right? Can you just get to the edge of the swimming pool and then swim up a wall or something? I don't think you can, but Senor Pink can. And if you eat the swim fruit, I suppose you could as well. So he does that and drops Frankie. Frankie gets up and Senor Pink's like, all right then, word is my bond. And then it's time for some Frankie iron boxing and just lays into Senor Pink and he knocks him down. Frankie wipes a tear from his face, wipes a tear from Senor Pink's face, and asks him to have a drink with him someday so they could talk about his wife and son, which we actually did finally get to see in a cover page request. And I am so glad that Oda drew this in chapter 1021. And I'm simultaneously happy and sad because I know that, like, the fact that Oda drew this probably means that we're not going to get it in the actual story. And maybe Oda realized that and he's like, okay, we're never going to have a moment where Frankie and Senor Pink are hanging out in a bar probably because, you know, Senor Pink's an Impel Down right now and everything like that. But, you know, I could still at least draw this, and it's an SBS, not an SBS request, a cover request. So that's good there too. So that was like the only named attack that he used. So he did some other clever stuff with it, like, because like Frankie shows up at the factory, like the Smile Factory, and just starts wrecking everything with coup de vent and just blowing up the whole area. Senor Pink can just like and just like go under the ground and immediately, and so he can avoid all of the devastation. So you basically got an immediate escape from any attack, even if it's like an explosion or something, because you're literally going under the ground. And you could swim around, I would assume, under the earth. I guess you have to hold your breath because technically speaking you are under, like, there's no air down there, right? So you'd have to like go under the ground, like the pavement and the dirt, and I guess as long as you hold your breath you could swim around down there and you could pop out wherever you want, just like in the water, okay? And so the ground around you, whatever substance it's made out of, whatever it's like cement or gravel or dirt or like, I don't know, like volcanic rock or whatever, it doesn't matter what it is. As long as it's not actual water or like a liquid, it will become the properties of a liquid, okay? And so Senor Pink didn't really do much of it in that regard. He just kind of swam around Frankie and like popped out of the ground and like grabbed him and put him into like a full Nelson or like a hold or something like that, and then they fought. But later on, when we have the Seraphim of Jinbei, S Shark, having the green blood, which was extracted from Senor Pink's DNA, Vegapunk synthesized the green blood, gave it to S Shark. Now we have a whole new display of power with this, where I used to think that, okay, when you're, you know, turning the ground around you into a liquid. It's just literally taking the properties around you, so allowing you to swim through it, okay? But what we see with S-Shark is, no, that liquefaction property of the ground actually sticks around for a while, meaning that you can jump into a parking lot, let's say, and the cement, or rather the like the asphalt, will turn into liquid, and you could actually splash somebody with the liquid. Why is that relevant? Because Fishman Karate is a thing. S-Shark is able to take the like liquefied ground or like substance around him, whatever it used to be. It's now kind of like liquid now, and he can use Fishman Karate techniques like the water bullets and stuff like that. That still works. Now, it doesn't stay liquefied for a long time, but it doesn't really need to be. Even if it stays liquid in that state for like, a second or two, that's enough. That's enough to deal damage before it turns back into the substance. I'm actually really interested now, like, the logistics of this, seeing the way that S-Shark was able to utilize it. Like, let's say S-Shark reaches into the ground and pulls up a piece of, like, stone, and now it's, like, water, and now S-Shark knows Fishman Karate, so, like, haha, and it, like, launches at you. When it hits the person, does it feel like getting hit with water, or does it feel like getting hit with a rock? Does the rock shatter now because it's back to being solid matter? A lot of interesting questions with this devil fruit, which is maybe the reason why it took me this long to talk about it, other than the fact, of course, that the wounds are still very deep from Senor Pink. There was also a question that was asked, I think it was asked to Jinbei's VA in one of the SBSs, like if Jinbei could get any devil fruit, which one would he want? And the answer was like, well, Jinbei he can already swim, and he can already be, walk around on land, so he would ask for a flying devil fruit that allow him to fly. But Jinbei also would never eat any devil fruit because it prevents him from swimming, and he's a fish man, so that's, whatever devil fruit he would get would probably, like, have his battle capabilities, okay? Except for the swim fruit. Like, seriously, if Jinbei... Now, that still wouldn't be good, because Jinbei is a very big asset to the Straw Hats right now, especially whenever one of them gets knocked over the side of the Sunny into the water, which happens a lot. It's usually Zoro or Sanji or somebody has to dive into Frankie, or somebody has to dive into the water to, like, pull them out or something. So now you just have Jinbei, and that's very convenient. So even if Jinbei had the swim fruit, it's like, cool, he could still use his abilities on land, and he could still use Fishman Karate and everything, but the fact that he's limited to not going into the actual ocean, that's a huge detriment that he would probably never trade for anything, even if it was the swim fruit, or even if it was a fruit that allowed him to fly. Flying Jinbei, like, that would be really cool to see, but yeah, Jinbei's never going to eat a devil fruit for that reason, right? I think most fishmen and most merfolk would not make that trade. I mean, there's a reason. The only one well, I guess two now. We have Jack, who had the power of the mammoth fruit, and then we had Vanderdeck in the 9th that consumed the target fruit, which was not even a really great fruit, you know what I mean? So, yeah, but the detriment in that case is just too high there, okay? So now we're going to talk a little bit about the awakening of this devil fruit, and also, like, the exact way you activate it, because I was thinking about it, like, really you have the ability to turn the area around you into a liquid-like substance. For the purposes of a devil fruit, I guess it still counts as dry land or a solid mass, because otherwise, like, because it doesn't have to be seawater to weaken a devil fruit user. It can be anything. It can be fresh water, it can be soda, it can be iced tea, it can be milk. You could drop a devil fruit user in a tank of milk, and if they're submerged up to a certain point, yeah, they're going to lose their abilities, right? But when it comes to this, do they have to actually initiate, like, a diving action in order to activate the power? Because the whole point of the power is swimming, right? So, maybe you actually do have to, dive into the water or perform, like, the backstroke or something in order to activate it. Well, whatever. The awakening ability, since you can turn the area around you into a liquid-like substance, the awakening would be turning anything else in the immediate vicinity around you into a liquid. So this would actually be really useful, because imagine you're going up against an enemy, and the enemy is like several yards, several meters away, and you're an awakened user of the swim fruit. You could activate that power, and then they would blorp into the ground. And then I guess even if they were a devil fruit user, they would not drown, because it's the purpose of for the purposes of the swim fruit being the lone exception to the swimming rule. This does not count as liquid, even though it's very similar to liquid. It's still technically dirt or cement or something, right? Okay, but they would fall, and they would not be expecting this, and they'd be like, what? Huh? What? Could you drown in the earth? I imagine you could. I imagine you still could. I mean, I guess it doesn't, like, if the swim fruit gives you the ability to not only swim in whatever surface you want, but also like allows you to breathe under that surface, that would be really broken because you could basically just blorp into the ground and just hang out down there and just be like, you can't touch me, you can't hit me, I'm like a mile under the earth. Could you, oh my god, could Senor Pink, this is a serious question. I know I ask a lot of ridiculous questions sometimes. I know a lot of times I'm on here and I'm talking and people are like, Teching, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. But no. This is a serious question. This is a serious question, all right? Could Senor Pink swim to the center of the earth? Or anybody that, a shark, anybody that eats the swim fruit, could you swim to the center of the earth? Now, here's the thing. Here's the kicker. Okay, now we're really getting into the nitty-gritty with this. Okay, so the devil fruit weakness is any liquid. Okay, like we already talked about. It doesn't have to be seawater. It's any liquid. The outer core of the earth, at least the outer core of our earth, because we have the crust, then the mantle, and there's like little barrier, like intermediate zones where like, you know, crust to the mantle. But then after the mantle is the outer core, and the outer core is just liquid. It's a liquid outer core, but it's not a liquid in the sense of water. It's a liquid in terms of like, you know, magma and various metals that are just like melted to the point because it's so damn hot down there, right? And then the inner core is solid because it's just all the pressure pushing everything into a solid, okay? So, I guess there is a weird weakness with this, where if you swim down far enough out of the crust, because the crust is like 3 miles thick, but if you swim out of that into the mantle and getting into the outer core, I think the mantle is also a liquid too, because that's like where the continental shelves are like shifting and stuff. So I guess you swim down far enough, you would hit a liquid, and then the natural devil fruit weakness would kick in, and then you drown. But you wouldn't just drown, you would burn to death. Like, that's, oh, I guess, like, okay. The ability of the swim fruit allows you to swim, but I guess you would still be affected if, like, let's say you were going up against Oven. Okay, so Oven has the power of the heat fruit, like the Netsu no Mi, right? He's a high heat human. So he uses his power to, like, let's say it's a metal floor, and he heats up the metal floor so it's, like, really hot. Not hot enough to melt it, but really red hot metal floor. You could still probably use the swim fruit, but it would scald you. It would burn the shit out of you while you were swimming. It'd be like you were swimming in boiling water, okay? So you would still probably be limited to that. Now that I'm actually thinking about it, this is a very interesting fruit, the way that it works off of other fruits, okay? Because the battle with Frankie and Senor Pink was just like, it was a battle of manly, hard-boiled men. You know, there were no tricks. There were no, like, I'm going to heat up the area or I'm going to lift up the ground so you can't swim in it anymore. That would be a way to negate the power. Like, kind of just do what Zoro did to Pika, where he kept slicing off chunks of Pika so he couldn't, like, you know, separate into the ground. So I guess what Frankie could have done is, like, picked up a big section of the street where Senor Pink was swimming and just, like, and just lifted up the whole thing. And so Frankie's holding, like, a giant boulder in his arms, and Senor Pink's, like, swimming around in the boulder, but he can't, like, he can't get into the ground, so he'd have to leave the boulder and do, like, a fancy twirl or spin in the air or something like that, and then Frankie could hit him. I guess that's another weakness of the fruit there. But yeah, the different ways that fruits would play off of it, like Aokiji with the Hiya no Mi, or I guess Monet with the Snow fruit, the Yuki no Mi, same deal, where it's like you're swimming through the liquid ground because it now has the properties of liquid. Does it freeze as easily as liquid does? Because liquid obviously freezes quicker than a solid would. So it'd be like, you know, it doesn't really matter with Aokiji. He can freeze liquid, solid, gas. He could probably freeze plasma. Can you freeze plasma? Is that a thing? Aokiji can. So anyway, he shows up and he's like, oh, I'm swimming towards you. And then Aokiji could be like, no. And then you just get frozen in the ground. And then you're just stuck, frozen in the ground forever. Yeah, like a JoJo character or something. Actually, there is a character in JoJo in part 5. I forget his name. Secco, is that it? But it's the guy Oasis. I know Oasis is the name of the stand. I'll look it up and throw like images of. But I remember from Golden Wind there was a stand that has the ability. It's like a suit stand that allows you to basically do the exact same thing as this. So maybe that's where Oda got the inspiration from, because that obviously aired, or that chapter of Golden Wind was like decades, before Senor Pink showed up. So yeah, there is that there too. So yeah, that's actually like there's a lot of logistics with this. Like, could you swim to the center of the earth? Could you swim in like magma? Does magma count as liquid? That's the question, I guess, because it is a liquid, but it's very viscous. Liquid, I mean, like that brings up not even just the swim fruit, but a question of devil fruit weakness in general. Like, it's any liquid. We know that. Oda said that. It can be any liquid, like soda pop or, I don't know, LaCroix. If you swim in carbonated water, same deal. But would it work with, like, Jell-O? Would it work in, like, pudding? If a devil fruit user got dropped in pudding, does that count as liquid? Or gelatin, right? That's made up a lot of water. Or magma, because magma, it flows, but it's not like magma doesn't flow like water. You know what I mean? It's more viscous. So what limit of viscosity? That seems like a question for Vegapunk. Vegapunk might reveal that, like, yes, I've done extensive research on devil fruits, Quasar, and I figured out the exact moment of viscosity when weakness goes away. Those are the kind of questions you gotta ask in the One Piece world, okay? But if there is no weakness, if Senor Pink could swim through magma, he could swim to the center of the earth. Would the pressure affect him? Would the pressure kill him? Or would the devil fruit negate the pressure? I don't see why it would. So you'd probably just get crushed, right? I guess you just get crushed. Like, you could go swimming. Like, there's a reason you can't swim in the Marianas Trench, right? The pressure would just kill you, okay, right? So it would probably be something like that, where if you stay close to the surface, you could swim around no problem. But if you start going down and down and down, the gravity, the pressure of the earth around you is still going to be a thing, and it would eventually, kill you. But if you could swim down just a little bit, like maybe, I don't know, a few meters under the surface, and if you had the ability to breathe while you were under there, you didn't have to, hold your breath, you could just hang out and just be invincible. That's not the way that Senor Pink would fight. So just because Senor Pink didn't do that doesn't mean anything, because Senor Pink, he would not do such a cowardly tactic. He's Senor Pink, for God's sake. Wherever you're at, Senor Pink, well, we know where you're at. You're an Impel Down. But whatever you end up at the end of the story, I don't know where you're going to be. If you're going to still be an Impel Down, maybe you'll escape with Doflamingo and everybody at some point. I just hope you're happy at some point, Senor Pink. I hope you can find your own part of the world, and I hope you can find happiness and solace somewhere. Anyway, that's the video, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you don't mind now, I'm going to put on these shades and just sit here and ponder.